What's up everyone, I'm Eldridge, and 0.3.1.3.f.0.7. whatever just released a few days ago, and once again, Wargaming's patch notes are fantastic, because they included the following two lines. Alright, once more for the fatherland. However, this time I'm not going to read out all the changes, I'm just going to leave the images up while I waffle on, and if you want to read anything in more detail, make use of that pause button and read to your heart's content. So the patch notes were right in that the HE damage did come down across the board for all ships between about 11 point whatever and 15 point whatever percent, but that's still pretty damn vague, so I thought it would be best to just list all the ships. If you're not interested in the intricate detail, the basic overview is 15 point whatever percent applies to the battleships, and 11 point whatever percent applies to the destroyers, and cruisers are somewhere in between. And allegedly there's again some kind of change to the armor, bouncing and whatever, so I'll tell you in 1,000 games. But I do feel that it may now be sometimes applicable for mid to high tier cruisers to use AP ammunition, but again I can't say this unless I've actually played a bunch of games and tested it out. For destroyers, I still don't think it's worth it. I played a bunch of Sims games today, and the AP ammunition didn't go through anything, so I think the HE spam is still on for destroyers. We just do less damage now, because we were way too dangerous. But the patch notes made it sound like the turning circle changes would apply across the board, which they don't. They apply only to battleships and carriers. Cruisers and premium ships are completely unaffected. The turning circle of battleships was increased by about 100 meter across the board, both American and Japanese ships, and the carriers were hit really hard. I mean, seriously, just look at those stats. 1,180 meters for the Lexington. Fuck. I guess it was much too easy to avoid torque bombers with carriers. So carriers have more fun with your carrier wars at the start of the game, cause that shit just got real. Speaking of carriers, I also included the fighter loadout changes from 0.3.1.2, which basically increased the ammunition loadout for all American fighter airplanes. I didn't make a video on 0.3.1.2 because there weren't a lot of changes, this was pretty much one of the only ones, and so I thought I'd just include it in this one. Beyond this, on Japanese carriers, torpedo bomber damage has been increased across the board. All of them have had their damage increased. Now this increase is most significant at tier 4 and 5, where it went from 5,900 to 8,567, whatever weird number that is. And then in the mid tiers it only increased by 67, but then at tier 8 again it increased from 8,500 to 10,700, which I think is a crazy strong buff. However, at the same time, all of the Japanese dive bombers have been nerfed. They all do 4,600 damage now from tier 4 to tier 8, where before they gradually increased in damage and did 7,500 at tier 8. That's no longer the case, and I'm guessing Wargaming just wants to make torpedo bombers a Japanese thing and dive bombers an American thing, and honestly at this point I've lost pretty much all interest in carriers and I just can't comment on them very well because I just have absolutely no fun playing them whatsoever, and so I don't. Testing stuff in the beta is one thing and I love testing it, but I have tested it and I find the new low and mid tier carriers to be absolutely disgusting. I don't find them enjoyable whatsoever. I find them only frustrating. I just don't like playing the loadout roulette. I think it's a stupid idea. And until that's gone, I'm not touching carriers. As to the other changes, HE damage nerf was of course needed. I'm not sure this is enough, but we'll have to see on that. As I said in my other video, the only real way they can get rid of that crazy HE damage we have right now is if they also address the mobility on the battleships. Because if you get rid of the HE damage, then the battleships just become so incredibly powerful. Because that is literally all that's keeping them in check right now. Only stupid and bad battleship players died to torpedoes. Now the turning changes weren't amazing, but neither were the HE damage changes, so I think it really balances out and we're in a similar place as we were before this patch. And so I think really nothing is going to change. Most people are still just going to use HE ammunition because it's stupidly powerful. Setting people on fire and breaking all of their modules is just so very effective, and gambling for AP penetrations at 12 to whatever kilometers range is just not. And so from the games I've played today, I don't think anything is going to change whatsoever. But at least they listened and didn't just take one out of the game, because that would have definitely been worse. Anyway, that has been it. If you enjoyed this look at the undocumented patch changes, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you have any feedback, leave it in the comments. Because I spontaneously did this video today, the Sims review will have to be pushed to next week. If you can't wait until then and you need my opinion on The Sims now, it's fucking dog shit and you should get something else. It's one of the destroyers that has suffered the most from 0.3.1 in my opinion, and playing it for the review makes me want to kill myself. But until then, I've been Eldritch Master Donkey, and I'll see you in another video.